Back to our Penn State deal here quickly. Again, not by any means happy that we lost. It's our fourth straight. I think we got some good effort for sure with playing hard, playing physical. I thought it was in all phases. Even the offensive stats weren't good. A lot of receivers downfield blocking their tails off, linemen coming off the ball. I thought their effort was pretty good in the kicking game as well, so I appreciate the effort, and I think it's good to see, something to build on. Going on the road here for 2 games and to finish up our last home game as far as playing hard down the stretch and continue to build on that. I had several guys defensively play very, very well. We gave up the one big play, had a couple stops in the scoring zone, limiting a score and holding some field goals. It gave us chances to stay in the game and a chance to win the game. It was great to see. I think we had 8, 9 players we thought played well enough that what we consider a winning grade and at multiple positions. Players of the game, we had a number of guys we thought did well, and we honored several guys here. Zach Shaw, who plays outside and splitting time with Nick Mangieri, was our most productive player on the edge. Played very, very well. Greg Gooch, not just because of the interception he had, but was involved in a lot of plays. As a young freshman, getting better and better. It was good to see, and had made one critical play that gave us a chance we didn't do anything with, but a huge play in the fourth quarter, but played well. Mark Murphy, and then not just because of the one pick. That was a heck of a play. Nice to see, but again, was consistent all day. And Timmy Bennett outside was outstanding in a lot of pass breakups and coverage and run support. So those 4 guys, Zach Shaw, Greg Gooch, Mark Murphy, Timmy Bennett, and a lot of other guys complimented with as well. So it was a solid defensive outing. Good to see. Offensively, still again struggling a lot. We threw it a lot more as far as our attempts. Had a hard time getting our run game going. Whether it be inside or outside, we tried the option about how to turn over. Our G scheme plays outside didn't work too well. A couple reverses, but it was tough sledding inside. 60-some yards passing. I think we had about 36 true pass calls by the time you take the scrambles in and all that. But had 3 guys play very, very well. Our one player of the game, we only recognized one guy, was Ralston Evans. Played very, very hard, led our offense at knockdowns. Both he and Dan Feeney were very good. Another guy I thought played very, very hard and very well was Anthony Casaro flying around. So I thought our effort was pretty good, but production was very, very poor offensively, of course, and that's easily seen. Kicking game, like several games, I don't know if we had anything as far as a strong performance by one individual, except we did recognize the special teams block, the field goal block that Bobby Richardson had. We recognize him as our player of the game. Again, that play kept points off the board. That play with 1 minute left still has us in the ball game at 13-7. That's a play that happens early in the second quarter. But that stop when it's 1st and goal and that block by Bobby was huge. We recognized him. Scouts of the week on offense, Ricky Brookins, who's a running back. We got in here nice young players that walk on. Defensively, Garrett Libertowski and Arthur Jones. So that's our stuff from last week. Disappointed with the loss. Like the way the guys fought. I appreciate that. I had a great chance, had a lot of opportunities, crossed midfield at no points several times for the O. Good to see the defense play solid. We have seen that. We want to build on that, though, and consistently continue to get that this week against Rutgers, who's a different offense and will challenge us in ways, but want to keep building on that and get our offense back on track. Rutgers this week going there 5-4 as we travel to Rutgers. I think they're expecting a large crowd, a nice crowd, about 50,000 there. There'll be a lot of energy in their building. You watch them when they played at home against Penn State and Michigan. It's been jumping and electric and a good atmosphere. The Wisconsin game in bad weather didn't have the same kind of energy, but they've been open. They were at Nebraska 2 weeks ago, so it's been a while. So I think they're expecting a great crowd and energy. For us, it's a road test. We need to get back to winning. It's tougher on the road. The energy you got to bring, the toughness that you got to bring, and that's something we've been stressing to our team. We need to get some wins. We need to get it on the road. It's a sign of building our program, and we want to continue to improve and finish strong. So great challenge from Rutgers. Coach Flood does a great job. A lot of respect for Coach Friesian, offensive guys, and they're playing hard defensively. They've lost some games. They've played a tough Big Ten slate, and they've lost to some good teams. But at the same time, they're 5-4. I know they'll be excited trying to get their bowl victory, and we're looking to get back on track and get number 4 and finish this thing real strong. Well, we had 36 passes and 37 runs, so that's not quite 50-50 as far as play calls. I think we had 10 runs that were reverses, options, or sweeps, so it was 27 inside runs. But the outside plays, you saw the option on the ground, and the second play of the game was speed option that lost 2 yards. So we didn't get outside either. So, but if we try to open it up and be a little bit more balanced. Of course, now some of those passes are skewed because some third downs. You know, we had 17 third downs. We ran it a few times, but I think you had, 10, 11, 12 passes. And, of course, right before the half, we had 4 attempts in the first half at the end of the game. Really the thing to me is when you go back and look at it, fourth quarter, we've got it across midfield in good shape, and we dropped a pass on third down, tried a long field goal. We missed wide right, had a leg, but just missed it. Came back the next drive after the turnover, and we threw 3 passes in a row. First one was a boot pass that they pressured and we didn't execute, kind of throwing it hot to our tight end in the flat. Second one was a mid-range pass we had worked several times that it executed that didn't work, wasn't there. And then third and long, we threw it. So we throw 3 passes. The next drive, we run the ball, and on second down, we throw the pick. And then when we got it back, we were kind of, with 2 minutes and kind of threw it every time. So we only had 2 rushing attempts in the fourth quarter. And to me, that's where, whether it be inside run or outside run, if we could change some things. We didn't run the ball like we needed to in the fourth quarter, and had a chance to one drive. Well, we had a few more than 2, but the last couple of drives, the last 3 drives, we had 2 rushing attempts and got behind chains. But we were behind chains running it too. We're a good defense. They're first in the country in rushing D. And giving up I think they're giving up 79 now. We had, but it's a tough sled. So.
Last week you guys had maybe some more physical practices. What were you just trying to remind them to play more physical?
I just felt, coming off an open day, we talked about trying to stay fresh, not overdoing things, and we've been going a long time. But I think we've gotten so consumed with fixing quarterback and what the quarterback can do, we got away from the team playing hard and the team playing well for the quarterback, getting stops, playing well in the offensive line, running the ball more consistently, staying on schedule, et cetera. So it was not by any means a negative mindset, except just getting back to me where I felt as we had kind of evolved with dealing with where we are, that as a coach, make sure, again, our deal is, getting better every day and things that we think that win. And even though we've been no huddle in years past and we've had, some success throwing it the last couple of years, we've always played good when we had some running game, we were physical running the ball, and our defense showed up and played good run defense. And in this league, no matter what your style is, shotgun spread, no huddle, a lot of tight ends or no tight ends, you've got to be physical in this league, got to be physical in this game. And it wasn't by any means negative, it was just to reemphasize the way we've played. When we played well earlier this year and have had success, that's been a part of our play. So the practices don't change, but maybe the points of emphasis. And I just felt we'd started emphasizing fixing problems instead of maintaining the culture that we thought we needed to win.
Kevin, how did the O-line grade out? It seemed like you were rotating some different guys in there.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the only thing, Jason Spriggs a week ago still kind of nagging with the injury, so we started Ralston and Dimitri Camille at tackle, but Jason came in and played. So those 3 guys kind of handled the tackle. I think Coach Fry has felt for the last couple weeks that the best combination was, instead of having Colin Rohrig at center and some guys playing guard, we like Dan Feeney at right guard. It's been awesome. I think he and Ralston Evans had 18 knockdowns. I think we had 27 in the O-line and 2 guys had 18. And so those guys led the way. I think Greg felt that Jake Reed at center with Ralston at guard was the next best combination for the most part. That's kind of where we've been there. So outside of Spriggs being a little gimpy with his neck shoulder deal, and got limited on some practice stuff, it's kind of been those 5 or 6 guys. Jake Bailey will play a little bit. Wes Rogers will play a little bit at guard, but it's Reed at center, it's Rohrig and Feeney at guard, and it should be Spriggs and Evans, or Camille gets in there at tackle right now.
Injury-wise, anything come out of that one?
I don't think so. Nick Stoner at Michigan tweaked the ham, was limited, didn't do much. But finally, the most he did was warm-ups, looked good, and probably could have went, but again, didn't practice. He's a track guy and kind of cold. He thought he could go, but at the same time, you start staying around. We didn't want to put him out there and let it nag. He looked very good last night, so I would expect him to be back in the mix. He didn't have a pull as much as a track guy. He got run up on a punt play at Michigan. Actually, didn't finish the Michigan game. And so he's a little game, but I think he will be back, and from there I think we're pretty good.
How would you assess the development of the wide receivers so far? You elaborate a lot on the passing game to do well. Guys around Xander have to perform well.
Yeah, they do, and there's some opportunities the other day. You got him, and again, now they've all been here. Now they've been here from summer, and of course we're limited with summer what we can do. We can't go out there and coach them, but they got the summer development, preseason, all. But there's some times the day if Fuchs is in the game and Stoner's not going. If Jay Shum was in for Shane Wynn, you actually had a quarterback, a tight end, and 3 receivers are all true freshmen. So with that, there's some time on task. There's some plays we don't make consistently. The more those guys play, the better they're getting. They're going to be great as we keep going. But there's just there's a lull between Shane, Nick Stoner. The next couple classes haven't developed or aren't there, and it's some young guys. And so that's kind of where it is right now. They're doing okay, but they need to do better. It's been a concern, and we will have been addressing we're limited on practice time and reps, but how to get that thing developed and get it up to speed short term and long term, because we need to get it back up to speed, because our ability to make one-on-one plays is not what it needs to be.
You expect to get the drill back this week?
I don't know. Now, again, last night what we did in work didn't involve throwing. We did some situational stuff, and a lot of guys were talking about the young guys, so we were doing some game situations with offense, and we had a 2-minute at the end of the first and second half, how to manage it better, and 4 minutes. So we did some stuff, but we didn't throw. So I didn't see him, didn't address it last night with the trainer. I guess we'll get a feel for tomorrow. But again, he's missed. He can play. Danny's looking pretty good. I'd hate to lose his year, but right now he'd be second based on Nate's availability. Boudreaux's availability.
The defense, their performance against Penn State, in order to sustain that, what needs to happen?
Well, they're again, each week you're getting different guys. Penn State, like ourselves, has some issues injury-wise. Their line, so not every team you're playing is the same just because you play. It's matchups, your opponent, et cetera. And those guys have won games up there, but our defense matched up. It's different matchups this week. So now because you played well, that's a tough thing in college ball. There's so many dynamics between running quarterbacks, option quarterbacks, multiple looks, that it's adjustment every week, and it's 2 or 3 days to adjust, get lined up, and get what you need. They did play as hard as they've played. Bobby Richardson played very, very hard. Darius Latham up front played very, very hard. Zach Shaw was very impressive. Flo Harden played his best game since he's been here. 3 tackles on the punt team was huge. It's great to see. Guy's been out there. He's had a chance to make some plays and sometimes hadn't quite got through with it. Played a great week of practice. So I really appreciate Murphy and Timmy Bennett and Flo and Bobby, some old guys. Because what I like, Shane Wynn, Colin Rock, some old guys are some great practice guys. So that's what we need, the old guys staying on track. We've talked about immediately after the game. It was good to see, to build on it. And not that you're going to have the same stat deal, but the same kind of effort. We had a great week of practice. It was mentioned we had a little bit more padded practice, or good on good. It wasn't hard or negative, but just a little bit more emphasis on low pads and playing tackling and being more physical. We're going to do that the remaining 4 weeks, because in the Big Ten it's that way. You got to finish that way. We got 2 road games and a rival game, 3 to get you to 6, and they're all going to be tough. So immediately after that game, I congratulate them on their effort, toughness. I didn't like the loss. I also told them to suck it up, because we're not going to go to the training room and get soft with 3 weeks left. We're going to keep staying tough and playing hard and get this thing on track.
You guys have emphasized for a lot of the season, staying fresh, making sure your guys' legs and everything are good for this last stretch. Has that kind of developed the way you wanted?
You say that too, but that's a little bit where if we're not careful, you stay fresh enough, or you hitting enough. So there's a double-edged sword, there's a balance. And I don't think we've under-practiced by any means, but again, I think, as we had the injuries, we got away from the hitting side. Whether you are fresh or not, when you've played, now this would be what? We've got 9 games under your belt, 2 open dates is 11. You got preseason, 3+ weeks. You got 14, 15 weeks of hitting. Everybody's chipped up a little bit. Everybody's got some injuries to deal with. No matter how dynamic they are, it's a part of the game. You've got to overcome that no matter what it is. So we've done our part. The kids have practiced good, but we've talked about the attitude, culture, practicing hard and playing hard. Thought we did it last week. Don't like the result. Need it again this week, and we need to change the result.
Walker been working with the quarterbacks. Is that just sort of a recent change? Is it a long-term thing?
We messed around a little bit in open date week. Again, it's a lot to handle. And as a quarterback, he was he played quarterback 3 years in high school, and basketball kid. It was an option zone read, throws it okay. But when we looked at it back in preseason, we thought with the numbers and with Covington that maybe Chris was a little bit more what we wanted. But I mean, Zeke can do it. I don't know if it's long-term. Right now, he's slated to be redshirted. He is an emergency if we need it. But it's so little time on task that it would be difficult to manage. So it's kind of Danny and him. Danny's been here since July because when we had the transfer, we signed him in July. So he's a little bit behind, but he's throwing it well and gaining on it like him. Xander's been here longer with Springs. He's got more time on task. Need to get Nate Boudreaux back. Bryce Smith has been here as a young walk-on for a year and a half, and then we thought Zeke gave us some run-pass threat if we needed it. And we'll see if it's long-term. We'll at the end of the season kind of just adjust and see where we're at and how to move forward.
I mean, you'd hate to have to use Danny, but I mean, you just might have to if the game's
Correct.
right.
And at the same time, you do that, a couple years ago, when Nate first got here, he's probably going to be redshirted. But there's a season-ending injury. You're probably not going to play the whole year for one quarterback. So as soon as that injury happened in the first half of game 2, we actually played Nate that game because we knew he was going to have to play. And that kind of lost his redshirt year. So Danny's kind of saying, now you could get it back. All those guys come back healthy, and you end up being quarterback 3. You could even be quarterback 2. And barring injury, get re-redshirted, get that year back if all your third-team guy was a mop-up guy. So barring injury, Xander can get a year back. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with Danny. You hate to do it, but at the same time, we got to do what it takes to win, and we'll play those situations as they go. But at quarterback, you got a chance. They don't play special teams, so you could, I've had that happen years past where you get the year back. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully we'll stay healthy, though.
Struggles with the passing game, how much of it is an issue? Obviously, Xander wasn't, really in the plan, but how much is it his struggles, and how much is it the receivers, and how much is both?
A little bit in protection. The other day when protection's firm, and he knows where he's going, he sets his feet, he threw some pretty good balls. And when we got in some things where with pressure or protection breaking down, or he got bluffed and he got in his eyes and he got a little rattled, then he starts running around and, that kind of scares you a little bit. So there was about half the plays that day where he looked really good. Pro was firm. He set his feet. He threw some nice balls, even some balls that weren't completed, but he stuck a couple shots in it. To me, it's what you want to build on. So we got to put him in good situations, but a quarterback's going to look good when they all look good. And again, with some of that youthfulness, our receivers are a little bit off. And we got to pick that, we got to develop that, and we got to continue to really work to recruit and help that position next year. But right now, short term, it's finding a comfort level. And that's what we tried to do last week. We tried to throw it a little bit more, but we tried to find some things that fit that game plan that he was comfortable at, that we could throw it a little bit more.
Do you do things like cut the field in half for him so he only has to read one half and then he could run if there's nothing there? What kind of adjustments do you make to make it easier for him?
Yeah, it's easier said than done because you know what that half of the field's always going to be. And then you got freshman receivers. So, hey, if it's this coverage, run this route, this coverage, run this route. Hey, freshman quarterback. So you got a lot of thinking going on with young guys. So sometimes you might split in half where you put one concept on one side of the field, one concept on the other side, one's to attack a certain coverage, one's for another coverage, and then he pre-snap says, okay, I'm working here versus I'm going 1, 2, 3. And sometimes with protection, I think there's just a little hyperness that if he has to go through too many guys, he gets a little hyper. And so that's why, again, you can't say just throw it left. But we're doing what we can. By no means are we running one receiver routes. We're going, there's a 1-2 or a 1-2-3, but we're trying to help him so he can set his feet, keep the protection firm, so he can rip it out there and make the plays he needs to make.
Coach, you tried a bit with wildcat, a few reverses, zone reads. Is there anything else you can throw at this offense, or is it just a matter of execution at this point?
Execution for sure. Now, again, we still, I don't think we ran any wildcat last week. We still, we have a little bit of that there if you want it. It's not, again, those weren't new plays. The quarterback doing the zone read, if you block the end, you hand it. If you don't have an end, you pull it. So, again, for the line, we're trying to keep it simple for the line, that they can play hard, know who to target. I think the players would tell you that have played a lot. Now, it might be a little bit more difficult for some of those young receivers with the formations or adjustments they have to do, but I think the guys would tell you, even though we appear to be doing different things, I don't think it's mentally that hard for those guys. At the same time for Xander, hey, it's a speed out in this formation. The first time I've seen it, it's a little bit maybe new for him or that young receiver, so we got to keep cleaning that up. But to me, we're not trying to schematically, I mean, if anything, we try to eliminate it, but there's enough variables that we can do, and the line's mature enough. So, but again, it's not, again, I wouldn't say we have a lot, but we're looking. We got to score points. I mean, our defense in this day and age, you're not going to, it's hard to score when you're below 30 in college ball. There's not a lot of, 17, 13 games. We just played one, but there's not a lot of those games. So we're struggling offensively. We got to get in the end zone. And whether we're creating defensive opportunities or kicking game opportunities, when we were years ago at Miami of Ohio, we'd probably score our good teams 27-31, but we were getting 14 or 17 with defense and field position and kicking. And we had short fields, and the offense probably earned about 2 touchdowns a game. But we would win 27-14 or 31-17 because the team created points. The other day, we had the opportunity with the defense to create some points. We didn't catch it in. We got to find some return game. We're not getting a lot out of that. So we're going to keep working at it because defense is playing better, but there's not going to be a lot of 9-6 football games in college football each week, and we got to get points to win, and we got to win.
Can Xander throw on the run very well, or is that, obviously your feet aren't as set? I just wonder if he was comfortable doing that, or if he likes to do that. He's for sure scrambles well, and again, we've done every game some sprint and some boot passes, so it's in. He's an athletic kid, moves well, so it's a part of what we do. It's just each week structurally, can you get to the edge? Because some teams with leverage and blitzes don't make it more difficult to run. They keep you in the pocket. And so you got to find formations and shifts and motions that capture it. So I think the other day we ran, 4 or 5 boot passes and 1 sprint out. So we did a handful of times Saturday.
Coach, there's been a transfer epidemic in college basketball. You had some impact at your most dynamic position. Do you see this newer generation of kids being a little bit less patient or lacking a little team loyalty?
And you're talking about, you said the transfer deal because you're saying with basketball, but with our deal, is that what you're saying, transfer guys?
Well, I mean, just kids today are, you had 625 transfers in Division I basketball, and you've been impacted with the key position. Do you think these kids today are a little less patient or lack a little team loyalty maybe?
Yeah, it's a good question. I read yesterday, I saw something the guy sent me where it says all good coaches need a patient wife, a loyal dog, and a great quarterback. Not necessarily in that order, too. That was Bud Grant's quote. I like that one. So, because my wife is patient, and I know we've got a good dog. We got to find that great quarterback. And we've got some. I know, for example, my situation. We deal with those guys is if any time a person thinks it's best to leave, we'll do what's best for them. But I don't think I've ever had a guy say he's leaving that we thought was good, no matter where it was, when it was. Because I think the best deal. This is a great place, great school, great education, great opportunity. We got some great teammates. They're making a huge commitment. There's a lot of good things, and we encourage, like tough times aren't there to stick versus tough guys. Stay with it, fight through it. And at the same time, you got to support what a kid wants to do. And we've had some guys not want to play anymore. I don't want to play the sport anymore. We kind of, if you don't want to, fine. As a coach, you'd be surprised the number of kids that come in on scholarship and say, I don't want to do this. And how are you going to pay for your school? Look at your situation. Come on now. It's when you're getting $70,000 plus in scholarship here, it's a lot of money. It's a heck of a deal to practice ball, and whether you start or don't start. A lot of guys want it now. I mean, I get that, and I think it's hard at every position. I mean, it's a dynamic in recruiting. You go a year ago, and a year ago today we've got a junior and 2 sophomores, and so the year before nobody wanted to come because they were a sophomore and all freshmen. And one guy had gotten hurt and blah, 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 blah. So actually it was 2 sophomores and a freshman, but the sophomore got a redshirted. So then the following year, you go out and when you look at the high school guys, well, the starting quarterback's just a sophomore. I want to come play. This year, to me, we're a lot more attractive prior to injury because you're at the time. So you got to take some developmental guys, but when you go out and you market yourself on guys, that's been a tough sell. But that being said, too, you want the guys to kind of buy in. I know we try very, very hard to support our guys on the field, off the field, classroom, weight room, practice. And we encourage guys, this is a great place to hang with it. Great things are going to happen. Years ago when a guy built a program, his comment on the board in his locker room that those that stay will be champions. Can't make them stay. Our world's a little impatient.
I don't know if you know the old saying, patience is a virtue, whatever, but I know this, if you work hard and stay on task, good things are going to happen. And that's all we try to sell for our kids. And that's what we got back to last week. Wasn't about harder practice, but let's get back to task, to working hard and building, because that's kind of what we've been doing. And we were kind of doing it this year, moving in a good way, and had a couple curveballs, and all of a sudden you start putting holes in the dam versus let's get back to building what we want to do and keep it moving the right way. So, but the transfer rule is what it is, and you can get a little thinner. I mean, it's almost like, I said this a couple years, I'm a basketball guy because you're asking from a basketball perspective, I know, but it's almost like with these one and dones, it's almost like 4-year college basketball. It's like JC, and you got guys for 1 or 2 years. You know, you don't really have time to develop guys. And it's amazing some of the schools that are developing guys for 4 years are running into the tournaments farther in basketball because you got time on task. And that's what for our guys, I just think the way we've been a developmental program, that's what bugged me a couple of weeks ago. I didn't think we were developing our team. We were fixing problems. Let's get back to developing. And to me, if a kid will stay on task and work hard, I think great things can happen. That's all we try to encourage the guys to. But we're going to support them. It is the nature of what's going on.